Hola, soy Dora, and welcome to my channel. It has been almost 7 months since I posted my last what if, and saying that out loud, that's a long time. I got a wife and 3 kids, a 4th one on the way, and it's just been forever since I've made a what if, and it does feel good to be back. I'm not gonna lie. I can't describe how many messages I've gotten from people asking when I'm going to be back, Well, here I am. Now, without wasting any more of your time, let's get right into the what if. So let me get comfortable, man. Let me get used to sitting back talking to you guys. We start this what if off at the ceiling of the 9-tailed fox. Since Minato was stabbed through the stomach, he wasn't 100% and ended up botching the seal, somehow making it, well, it's not exactly the 8 trigram seal. Something was off. And the 9 tails was sealed, but its chakra activated something within Naruto, his Quirk gene. And after this, Minato died, leaving Kushina with her baby boy, and shortly after, she died as well, leaving Naruto in the care of Hiruzen. So Hiruzen picked up Naruto and he immediately started kicking and crying, and Hiruzen knew he was in for it. So he just sighed and went to the hospital where Naruto was, he left him for a few days because Naruto is just born, they need to make sure he's healthy and all of that. So fast forward 3 years, and Naruto is running around Hiruzen's house with a cape on, and he busts into Hiruzen's room and starts jumping on the bed. Hiruzen woke up, and in a raspy voice, he's like, "Naruto, not this early in the morning, please." But Naruto is just screaming, bouncing off the walls, hyper as ever. And on Naruto's 4th birthday, Hiruzen got Naruto this huge cake, and he puts it down on the table, and Naruto's eyes were popping out of his skull, and water is just dripping from his mouth. He's drooling, wanting to tear the cake apart. So he dug in, man didn't even wait, and started grabbing fistfuls of cake and stuffing it into his mouth, making a mess of everything, while Hiruzen just stood there and stared, remembering all the years of having to put up with this brat that isn't even his kid. So in a moment of anger, Hiruzen slammed his desk on the table and shouted, "Naruto, can you be still for once?" And a piece of cake landed on his face, and Hiruzen just broke and said, "Okay, that's it. I'm getting you a place to live by yourself." And Hiruzen stormed out, dragging Naruto along with him to his new apartment. Naruto was pleading with Hiruzen to just give him a second chance. He'll change. And when they finally got to his apartment, Naruto shouted, "Please!" And sparks started coming from his hands, and an explosion went off, sending Hiruzen flying. And Naruto looked down at his palms and back to Hiruzen, who's on the ground just groaning in pain. And tears started welling up in his eyes, and Naruto rushed over and said, I'm sorry." And Hiruzen slowly got up and looked at Naruto and said, "This is incredible. And Naruto, you have an amazing gift. You seem to have some sort of explosive ability, but how?" And Naruto was just confused, didn't know how to respond to this change in attitude from Hiruzen, and said, I don't know, it just happened." And Hiruzen, seeing the potential of this ability, brought Naruto to his office, where he summoned Asuma and began to explain everything that happened. And Asuma was like, "Bruh, did you really try to make a 4-year-old live by himself?" And Hiruzen says, That's not the point. The point is, Naruto has some special explosive type ability, like the Sarutobi clan, or even those ninjas from Iwagakure, the Stone Village. So we need to figure out how his ability works. And Asuma is scratching his head and says, well, let's head to the training grounds and we'll have him try to do it again. So they go down there and Asuma and Hiruzen are trying to make Naruto reproduce the explosions, but nothing's working. Asuma says, try to concentrate your chakra into your arms, and Naruto doesn't even know what chakra is. And after about an hour of this, he laid back down on the grass exhausted as the sun started going down. And Asuma said, don't worry about it, kid. We'll figure it out. Let's just celebrate your new abilities. We'll head to the hot springs, then get some ramen at Ichiraku. And hearing this, Naruto jumped up full of energy, and Asuma chuckled a bit, and they went to the hot springs. And Naruto, they get their towels and stuff, and they enter the area with the water. And as he's sitting down, Naruto immediately starts sweating everywhere. And again, sparks start appearing, and this sets off a massive explosion, blowing up the entire hot spring. And Naruto and Asuma quickly ran out coughing because of all the smoke. And Asuma looked at Naruto, then back to the hot spring, then back to Naruto. Kid, that was incredible. What did you do? And Naruto started explaining, he was sweating and sparks started coming out of his hands and then just boom. And Asuma was ready to go all in on Naruto's training after dealing with the owner of the hot spring. So for the following years, Naruto trains with Asuma and sometimes Hiruzen to control his explosions. And finally, when Naruto was 8 years old, he enters the academy. Asuma and Konohamaru walked Naruto to school, and yes, Konohamaru and Naruto would be like brothers somewhat because of how much time Naruto is around Asuma, who also takes care of Konohamaru, so it just makes sense. So Naruto walks into his classroom and is met by a ton of different students. Also, I should mention, no one really knows about Naruto since he spends all his time with Asuma and Hiruzen, so Naruto rarely goes around the village, and Danzo didn't tell them about Naruto being the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Why? Because I said so. So as Naruto is walking to his seat, he sees a group of girls surrounding this kid with black hair, and as he's walking past, he makes out the symbol on the back of his shirt and realizes that he's a member of the Uchiha clan. This must be Sasuke Uchiha. And Naruto was excited because he's heard a lot about Sasuke from Asuma and Hiruzen, and always wanted to prove he'd be stronger than him. So Naruto went to the back where he sees an empty seat and a kid is just sleeping, and he just shrugs and sits down. Then Iruka comes in and scans everyone's face and says, look at our future Jonin and Anbu and Hokage. This village will be in safe hands. Now, let's make sure everyone's here. So he started calling names, doing attendance. Everyone says hair as they hear their name. And once he's finished, Iruka doesn't want to give anyone a hard time when it's just the first day. So at first, he does some basic introductions. He has everyone stand up and say their full name as well as something they're interested in or interesting about themselves. Like Kiba, he stood up, he said his full name, and said he likes dogs. Sakura said she has a crush on someone and giggles a bit. And Naruto, he says he makes stuff explode, which did catch a few people's attention, but they mostly thought he was just joking. And finally, Sasuke said he likes training with his brother because the whole Uchiha massacre thing hasn't happened yet. So after lunch, Iruka has everyone go outside because they'll be testing their strengths today. But before we do that, don't tell me you guys forgot about our little tradition, man. You're forgetting the trivia question. And the question for this video is, what test did Naruto fail in the academy? I'll give you a second. Okay, moving on. Iruka said to the group of kids, today we'll be seeing what the max amount of laps you can do, how many accurate throws he can make from shuriken and kunai. And if we have enough time, only if, we can have a little sparring session. So everyone immediately started with the laps, and Sakura and Ino, they're trying to keep up with Sasuke while pushing each other out the way. Sakura is saying, "He's mine, Ino, back off." And Ino shoves Sakura as well, and Kibo was just watching and said, "It's the first day, can you two just chill out?" Meanwhile, in the front of the pack was easily Naruto, who's been training since he was 4. So his stamina is really high, and most people dropped out by like lap 7, and Sasuke dropped out at lap 15. But man, Naruto reached 30 and just decided to stop because he was holding everyone up. And Iruka was surprised by Naruto's abilities and said, "Wow, Naruto, you didn't even seem tired." And Naruto chuckled a bit, and everyone started the next course, accuracy training. So after this, they all lined up in front of all the targets attached to trees and the fencing, and Shikamaru was the first up. He took all 5 kunais and 5 shuriken, and then just threw them on the ground and said, I guess I missed all of them," and walked off. Other people went up, they hit like 2 kunais and 1 shuriken, but man like Sasuke hit all the shuriken but only 2 kunai. And we all know Naruto, he got all of them on target. Iruka, he was happy with everyone's results and said, "I guess we have time for the sparring session." And everyone got hyped. They'd be doing stuff like real ninjas, finally. So everyone was randomly paired together, and of course Naruto was paired with Sasuke. Now after some fodder characters fight, it's time for the main event, Naruto versus Sasuke. Iruka says, "Begin," and Sasuke rushes in and starts throwing punches at Naruto, who's blocking them and stepping back closer and closer to the edge of the ring. Sakura and Sasuke's entire fan club were cheering for Sasuke, and Naruto, he found an opening and punched Sasuke in the side, causing him to step back. Again, Naruto hit Sasuke in the chest, and Sasuke jumped back to create some space. Then, to everyone's surprise, he started weaving hand signs, and Iruka looked and he was thinking, "No, it's not possible. He knows jutsu?" And Sasuke shouted, "Fire style, fireball jutsu!" And he breathed out a massive fireball in Naruto's direction. And Iruka was about to jump in, but Naruto held out his hand, sort of telling Iruka to stay back. Then Naruto breathed in and opened both his palms and let out a massive explosion, dissipating the fireball, leaving a cloud of smoke. And like Naruto, he's hiding in the smoke, using it as a distraction, and he jumps out and kicks Sasuke out of the ring, winning the match. And it isn't really like a ring, it's just there's a circle drawn in the ground and he gets kicked outside of the circle. So Naruto, he pumps his fist in the air, and some of the girls from Sasuke's fan club started cheering for Naruto, and they rushed in and surrounding him, and the whole time Iruka is just trying to process what just happened. And he thought back to when Naruto said he makes explosions, and Shikamaru even said out loud, "Guess he wasn't lying," and sticks his hands in his pockets and just walks off. So Iruka, he ends class for today, and before anyone could question him, Naruto, he just ran home, while Sasuke was being held up by Sakura and Ino. Ino said, "Don't worry, Sasuke, all those other girls are fake, and we're here to stay." And Sasuke, he wasn't even listening. He was just trying to figure out what Naruto did to his jutsu. What was that? So for the following weeks at school, Naruto has been growing more and more popular, and this is sort of getting to his head. He's been missing out on training with Asuma, and his ego and entire arrogance just keeps growing throughout the next 4 years in the academy. So with that said, we fast forward to the end of the academy, because they don't really do anything all that interesting, just regular school stuff. And I doubt you guys want me to talk about them taking a test every week. So to the final day of the academy, Naruto walks into class and sits at his usual seat with his fangirls asking a bunch of questions like, Naruto, will we see each other after graduation? And Naruto, he just shrugs, maybe, maybe not. And she gets kind of sad, but Naruto could care less. So Iruka, he walks into the classroom, does his usual attendance, then says, well, everyone, your time in the academy has come to an end. It was a fun ride. Now, everything comes down to this. We'll have the written portion of the exams right now, and I brought in a fellow teacher to help out, and in came Mizuki. He started handing out the test papers, and once everyone had theirs, he said, begin. And the test was on the basics of being a ninja, a little trigonometry sprinkled in, some calculus, simple stuff. So after an hour and a half, everyone was finishing, and after collecting the paper, they all went outside for the physical portion. Now, unlike what the first day was, there's a minimum amount of each task that they need to complete to graduate. So first, they need to do over 20 laps and hit 7 out of the 10 shuriken and kunai and use a jutsu or just some technique they've learned in the sparring match. So let's get the boring stuff out of the way. For the laps and accuracy training, Naruto and Sasuke were surprisingly even, because while Naruto was out skipping all his training with Asuma, Sasuke has been training harder than ever, gunning for the top spot. So after all of that is out the way, once it's finally their time in the sparring match, tensions were high and it was completely silent. Even the group of villagers who have gathered to watch were dead silent, and Iruka yelled, begin. And Sasuke rushed Naruto, laying down blow after blow, and Naruto, he's barely dodging and gets sweep kicked and lands on his back. And Sasuke, from a point blank range, released a fireball, and Naruto, he was only able to hold his hands in a cross to minimize the damage from the jutsu. And once the smoke cleared, Naruto looked angry. He jumped up and said, now you've done it. And sparks started crackling from Naruto's hands, and he blasted himself towards Sasuke, then released an explosion in his face. But Sasuke, he dodged, and Naruto kept setting off explosion all over the place with no technique. Naruto was just setting them off, and Sasuke, he could easily find an opening. So he jumped above Naruto and said, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. And many fire blasts went in all directions, making it impossible to dodge, and it hit Naruto point blank, sending him flying across the arena. And without giving him any time to get his bearings to stand up or anything, Sasuke set off another fireball, knocking Naruto out of the ring. And to everyone's surprise, Iruka said, Sasuke Uchiha, winner. Cheers erupted from all the villagers, and a crowd started forming and throwing Sasuke up in the air while Naruto watched on. Just how did he lose to someone so much lower than him? And Naruto punched the ground in anger, then slowly got up and walked away. Some of the students who supported Naruto throughout his entire time in the academy, they tried to cheer him up, but Naruto, he was way quicker, he was gone. And Naruto went to the training ground where he usually trains with Asuma and was just leaning against a log. Then Naruto heard a familiar voice. He got pretty beaten up, Naruto. And he looked behind him and saw Hiruzen. And Naruto lowered his head and says, what are you doing here? And Hiruzen sat next to Naruto and said, to talk some sense into you. I saw that fight, Naruto, and I know that wasn't you. You could have easily won. At one point, you were just shooting off explosions. Did you even know where he was? And Naruto just didn't respond. Hiruzen continued, I'm putting you on a team with Kakashi. Asuma has been a lot more busy lately, so he'll be overseeing your development from now on. And Hiruzen got up and as he's walking off, said, Naruto, remember, Power is nothing without technique. Use your ability wisely and efficiently, and you will never lose. And that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Thank you all for sticking through all the way to the end. I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun writing this, and I haven't written a what if in a really long time, so if I forget anything, remind me in the comments. Hopefully I can finally get a fixed schedule, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. If you guys like the video, like, and if you like my content in general, consider subscribing. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next what if.
And remember, like and subscribe.